So is Donald Trump now going to start a war with Venezuela? That's about today's video. Look at these headlines. Trump weighs Venezuela strikes as U.S. forces prepare for attack order. And Trump just keeps having all of the military assets being moved to the region. And then you have Venezuela preparing for defense. And now we're talking about, okay, what are the options on the table and how to strike Venezuela? So this is our headline today. And there's a lot of leaks coming out from the White House and Pentagon because I think what's going on, there's people on the inside that are just like, this is illegal. We got to let people know what's happening. That's why you're seeing this. Let me go through the details of it because I literally want you to see it also. It says Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane returned to the White House on Friday for a second consecutive day of deliberations centered on potential military action in Venezuela. So I've been doing this a couple days now, right? As U.S. forces in the region prepare for possible attack orders, according to people familiar with the matter. So usually how these things work, you present the president, okay, if you want to attack, we can do these different types of attacks. These are different targets. You choose. That's essentially what it ends up being. And yesterday, if we followed this, Hegseth was already changing the plaque on the building to Department of War. I mean, it looks like they're barreling in that direction. And you could argue that this whole thing is a big distraction to get, other stuff that he doesn't want to talk about, be it Epstein or the economy, off the front, page, off the headlines, and now we'll start talking about war with Venezuela. But in my opinion, I don't think there's a lot of Americans, just regular Americans, walking around living their daily lives thinking, oh, yes, let's attack Venezuela. I highly doubt it, right? The same way I don't think there's many Americans saying, hey, let's bail out Argentina. I don't think Americans are thinking that stuff. They're probably thinking of like, hey, how do I put food on the table? It's just pretty standard thinking. And I think if Fox News, and I don't watch Fox News 24/7, it's just too much nonsense over there. But if they start drumming up the war drums that we have to attack Venezuela, then you'll know it's probably imminent. Or once Trump announced it, they're like, hey, wow, look at Trump's heroes attacking Venezuela. But we're living in a really dystopian time if they do this, and it looks like they're quite serious about it. So we'll read more. It says, it remains unclear if President Trump has decided to pursue an escalation. Okay. Though high-level discussions over whether to strike Venezuela and how have been underway for days. Okay. These people said speak on condition of anonymity because the matter is highly sensitive. Also joined the White House meeting, so we know who's involved with these talks. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. So those are sort of Trump's advisors in this stuff. And if you guys follow this stuff, you know this, like Vance, Rubio, and Miller. None of these people are trustworthy whatsoever. It's obvious. And again, especially for people who are MAGA, you're watching this, I'm just a sincere question. Like, do you want to attack Venezuela? Is that number one on your priority? I think my opinion is this is ridiculous, illegal. I think a lot of people are going to get in trouble over this later. Plus, you're risking several people's lives. You're spending a lot of money, and there's not really much upside to this. A White House spokesperson declined to comment, right? Because you do want to ask him. A Pentagon press office did not respond to requests for comment, right? So they're not saying anything officially, that is. Administration officials said, quote, a host of options has been presented to the president. Trump is, quote, very good at maintaining strategic ambiguity. Okay, so what does that mean? It means he's not telling us he's got all these options on the table, and so we'll see what he's going to do. And something he does very well is he does not dictate or broadcast to our adversaries what he wants to do next. That's what an official said. So someone who's trying to praise Trump, I guess the options are there, but Trump hasn't said which one he's choosing. That's how I read that. I do know, though, right, as this was just reported yesterday, Trump administration carried out 20th attack on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. This right here is, I mean, there's a lot of things we can talk about, but this right here is alone, and I would say in most developed, countries, if not all developed countries except the USA, your time as presidency would be over with this kind of thing, right? We're now on 20th strike. This is how dysfunctional the USA is, and now we're talking about, are we going to attack Venezuela? You have these headlines in: Trump boat bombings darken as secret memo reveals holes in the legal case, right? Of course, what Trump is doing is illegal. Secret DOJ memo that greenlights U.S., quote, drug boat strikes is entirely on a Trump theory. Oh, great. What's this? A secret memo from the Department of Justice that greenlights U.S. airstrikes on alleged drug boats reveals that the justification for such force is based entirely on assertions made by Donald Trump. The U.S. military has carried out a series of strikes targeting so-called, quote, narco-terrorists, with the White House criticized for not providing a specific legal basis for these actions. Because essentially the challenge that they have to prove is that Venezuela is like a, clear and present danger, and they're attacking America. So they're going to try to convince you Venezuela is attacking America, and so therefore we have to attack them. That's kind of what they're saying. Or now we're talking about chemical weapon stuff. Seriously, this is the Wall Street Journal today. Secret U.S. memo authorizing drug boat strikes cites chemical weapon threat. And for those of you who are old enough, right, if you lived through, say, the whole attack Iraq fiasco and the WND stuff, you guys remember these things, right? They always try to convince you some reason why we have to attack a country. The Venezuela one, like I said, I just don't think there's going to be many Americans, just regular people on the street thinking, oh yeah, let's go attack Venezuela. That's exactly what I want to do. I highly doubt that. The boat strike thing doesn't get enough coverage, actually, because like I said, that alone would basically, you should be removed from office from that. But any number of things that Trump does, you should be removed from office. It's obvious to, again, anyone in the developed world. It's obvious. But this is showing you what their justifications are going to be. And then you also want to pay attention to stuff because, after Trump leaves office and all his minions, wherever they go, I wouldn't be shocked if some of these people are going to go in front of Congress and have to testify and, hopefully face consequences for these actions. I'm just showing you guys what it is. And I like to hear from MAGA people on this stuff. Is this your goal in life here, is attack Venezuela? Is that your goal? Now, remember, Trump's, again, they're going to try to convince you that Venezuela is a major threat and therefore we have to attack. That's their whole point with this. Let's read through it. It says, a classified Justice Department brief authorized strikes on drug-smuggling boats described fentanyl as a potential chemical weapons threat. That's our argument then, according to a House member and another person familiar with the memo. So these are classified leaks, I guess. And you also remember, too, that Hegseth recently, they've been wanting to kick out all the press because they don't want anyone to be talking about this stuff, right? And then they bring in all of their, MyPillow reporters. No, seriously, this is the MyPillow people. It's so stupid. It really is as ridiculous as it sounds. And they bring in the Laura Loomer people and the beanie hat guy, who got money from Russia. I wish I'd making this stuff up. That's the Tim Pool dude. It's like, are you purposely trying to destroy America? Is that what we're doing? Then it says here, the lengthy document by the department's Office of Legal Counsel outlines the Trump administration's still secret legal justification for continuing military operation, meaning that they're not telling us, we're not getting reports, it's basically illegal. That's essentially what this ends up being, which sparked sharp criticism from Democrat and some Republicans since the strikes began in September. And again, this question I pose, guys, are you sitting around thinking, wow, we have to attack Venezuela? Is that what we got to do? Here's this. U.S. troops not liable in boat strikes, classified Justice Department memo says. So they're already having discussions in the White House. Okay, if we continue hitting boats, if we hit Venezuela, et cetera, are our troops going to be sued or liable for things that they're doing? Like if you're having those kind of discussions, you're doing the wrong stuff, isn't it? Isn't it obvious? I mean, this whole everything they do is obviously egregiously wrong, and you should be removing these people from power. It's obvious. It's any number of things. It's frustrating to talk about this stuff because it's just so obvious, and it's like, what more evidence do you need? And so essentially, what we have to do in this game that we're in right now, essentially, is convince the Republicans and the MAGA people to get on board. But I don't know. I guess in their mind, attack every country is that? I mean, so that's why I ask. I think it's a legitimate question to ask any MAGA or Republican in your life. Do you want to attack Venezuela? Is that the good plan? And I mean, why stop there? Why don't we just go for El Salvador and Ecuador or whatever, right? I mean, this is what we're doing here. That's what it says. Okay. But the brief also asserts the U.S. is involved in non-international armed conflict with cartels. So I guess we're supposedly fighting cartels. Okay. Legal term denoting one with territory of a single state. Since it is a legal fight, the memo argues, the U.S. military personnel involved are acting lawfully, wouldn't be subject to future prosecution, several people who have read it said. The The immunity argument was previously reported by the Washington Post. So again, that's the conversations that we're having is how or what kind of strikes do you want against Venezuela? Will our troops, face any consequences of it? I mean, and if you're having these kind of conversations, you're doing the wrong stuff. I'm telling you the truth, guys. Do not follow legal orders. And this is also when you see, top military commanders in the U.S. military is like stepping down. They don't want to be part of this stuff. And I'm telling you, do not follow legal orders. The I was just following order stuff is not a great defense. And then you get this kind of stuff. This is also coming out today. Republicans turn on Trump's defense policy chief. So a lot of infighting because I think and this is also people mention all the time. I see in the comments when people say, hey, Chris, I'm a McCain Republican. So meaning, we might have disagreements on policy, which is totally fine, right? But this idea that, just because you're Republican, you have to follow along with Trump is ludicrous. Trump's not even a Republican. He's just in it for himself. It's obvious with this stuff. And then these kind of actions, attacking Venezuela, I just don't see many Americans going along with it. So, we got to talk about multiple things on the channel, be it the money, be it the various, personal scandals that Trump has, right? He's got countless. And then you start involving, war, and it gets, even more serious as it already is. It's so frustrating to talk about stuff. And I guess I'll just say this, guys. I mean, if you're frustrated, I'm frustrated too. A lot of people are, so you're not alone. And I guess at this stage of the game, just you have to have honest conversations with the MAGA Republicans and to be like, come on, guys, seriously. In a developed world, you would be removed from office immediately if you start doing this kind of stuff. Just imagine if you're in Australia and you're like, hey, let's just go start attacking, boats whenever we want. We don't tell you the reason why. We don't tell you who's exactly on these things. We don't tell you what's on the said boats. Oh, and by the way, we're having meetings to attack, Venezuela. Just imagine if he did that in Germany or in the UK. Just how would that go? How would that go in Canada? If they started talking about these kind of things, like it wouldn't happen, right? It's like only Trumpers are up to this, and it's embarrassing. It's sick, and it's also putting a lot of people's lives at risk, as you can see. So that's my thoughts on this. I'd like to hear yours, and I'll catch you on the next video.